Greetings and salutations everybody, and welcome back to another of my videos. Before we get into today's videos, I just want to use the moment to just thank you so much for stopping by my channel. If you are new here, welcome, and thank you so much for stopping by, and I do hope that you will find something here that's quite useful, quite interesting, and quite informative. And to all my subscribers, I just want to say big up on yourself. 500 strong. Thank you so much for always sharing, always watching, and just thank you so much for the general and continued support. All I ask of you, if you're watching today and you've not yet subscribed, just hit the subscription button. You know that little button at the bottom that says subscribe? Hit that button. And also stay with me to the end of this video. So now that we have that out of the way, let's get straight into today's video. So today I want to share with you 5 effective lesson planning strategies that will help you to rock your classroom like a pro. Now, we all know that lesson plans can be very daunting. Lesson planning can be daunting, but it doesn't have to be that way. And so with the 5 strategies that I'm going to be sharing with you, it will help you to save time, it will help you to engage your students, and it will also help you to achieve the kinds of results that you really want in your classroom. So, without much further ado, let us just dive right into the strategies. Strategy number 1, start with the end in mind. Let me repeat that. Start with the end in mind. So you're going to ask yourself 2 questions. What do I want my students to learn by the end of this particular lesson? And how will I as the teacher know that the students will have learned the things that I want them to learn? Once you're able to ask yourself those questions and you're able to answer them, it allows you to be able to develop clear objectives and also appropriate assessments that are aligned with the goals or the overall goals of your lesson. So make sure you ask yourself those questions and do not move on to anything else until you're very clear about what the answer to those 2 questions are. Strategy number 2, design activities that engage and challenge your students. Again, design activities that engage and challenge your students. Now, I want us to pay keen attention to these 2 words, engage and challenge. Now, regardless of the age group, from kindergarten straight to tertiary, the aim of all teachers is to ensure that your students remain engaged right throughout your entire lesson. You also want to make sure that the activities are not too simple where they become bored, but you also don't want them to be too difficult. But you want them to be at the right level to provide the right kind of challenge for our students. Because you know what? Sometimes our students become bored in our classes. Sometimes our students have an unwillingness to participate, and sometimes that may be because our lessons are not engaging enough, or the activities, or some of our activities, also because the students may not be challenged enough as well, because if they are not challenged enough, then they are going to become bored quite easily, and they may even become disruptive in our classes. And so we want to make sure that we are challenging them enough to keep them on their toes. And so in designing these activities that are engaging and challenging for our students, we want to mix it up, give them a variety, so to speak, in the kind of experience we want to provide in our classroom. So you want to make sure you give them a range of group work. You want to give them peer work. You want to give them different types of games. You can create your own games. Utilize the multimedia. And hey, what better time to utilize multimedia than a time like now when all our students are tech babies? If they can use those different types of technological devices and approaches for their own entertainment and enjoyment in their own recreational time, why can't we therefore then use it in the classroom to make learning fun? Just make sure that our lessons are interesting and they are interactive. And once we're able to do that, we will grab the students. So just think about yourself as one of those circus clowns who is actually juggling multiple activities to keep your students on your toes. The difference is that, you know what, you're not in full attire and, you know, the clown makeup and all of that and juggling balls and the things that the clowns will juggle. But then Who say you can't put on the attire? Sometimes getting into teacher enroll and putting on a clown attire might very well be a way that you want to engage your students in your classroom. Hey, spite their curiosity. It's a suggestion, but you can probably try it and see if it works. Okay? So let's move on to strategy number 3. Assess your students in real time. Assess your students in real time. What do I mean by that? Now, for everything that you're teaching the students, you want to assess to see if they're grasping, they're learning. Now, you want to make sure that you're assessing while you're teaching. Don't wait until the end of the lesson or maybe 2 weeks later that then you're assessing the students. That's employing summative assessment. Now, always use formative assessment. It means as you're teaching, you are assessing students as you're going along. So maybe it can be a quick, short quiz, and it doesn't have to be anything that they write. It can be an oral quiz. So once you do that, it gives you an idea as to what the students are grasping, what they understand so far. If there's anything that you need to clarify for them or to clear up any form of misunderstanding, and allow you, the teacher, to also adjust your lesson as you're going along to accommodate the student who might be left behind or the student who is falling behind in understanding. So always employ formative assessment, and there are a range of them that you can employ. I am going to be doing a video on formative assessment and various ways in which we can employ formative assessment in our classrooms. Strategy number 4, differentiate your instructions. Now, every child learns differently, and so therefore it is important that you provide an avenue for the students to be able to access the material that you're teaching them. Now, and when I think about differentiation, I'm not necessarily talking about teaching styles, because or learning styles, because that's one of the things that is known naturally, that in all your lessons you must cater to the different learning styles, because students learn differently. So naturally we are going to cater towards those learning styles. But outside of the learning styles, you want to make sure that you're planning for the students specifically. So for example, what if you have a student, let us say, who may be visually impaired in your class? Yes, how do you therefore allow that student to participate in the same activity as the other students, without feeling as if they are an outcast? You want them to get the same kind of experience in the same activity and the same task, and so therefore you have to differentiate for that student. And you know what, I think I'm going to do another video where I explain the differentiation and how we differentiate via task and via activities, and even based on the students' interest is also how we differentiate, because the students will have different interests because they all come from different backgrounds. And if we want our lessons to be really engaging and we want to accommodate everybody, we want to also ensure that we are taking their interest into consideration and incorporate that into our lesson, because that is a part of how we're going to make it interesting and interactive. You know what they say about teaching? Sometimes it's like designing clothes for a fashion, for the fashion industry and for different people. But in this instance, you're not designing clothes at all. You're designing lessons that suit or fit the particular individuals within your care. Strategy number 5. With strategy number 5, you are now going to reflect on your teaching and make adjustments accordingly. Reflect on your teaching and make your adjustments accordingly. Now, it is very important that as you're teaching, you're making the kinds of reflection that will allow you to improve your practice. And listen, it will not take you a long time, because by the end of your class, it's supposed to give you a very good idea as to how well that particular lesson went. And so you just need to take some time and think about it, but you want to make sure that you're being very honest in your evaluation, because sometimes we reflect on our teaching and we refuse to accept to ourselves that, boy, the lesson never was so good. And nothing is wrong if you had a bad lesson or a lesson that did not go so well. What is wrong is when you Do not admit that the lesson did not go well and then you don't do anything to make the adjustment. That is why reflection is a part of our planning. Yes, so have very critical questions that you want to ask yourself. Look back at your objectives. You start with the end in mind. So look back at those objectives and ask yourself, did I accomplish all of what I wanted to accomplish? Were the activities engaging and challenging? And were the students able to complete all the tasks that I wanted them to complete? Ask yourself your questions and answer them openly and honestly, and then you make the adjustment where you see fit. Once you're able to do the reflection each time and make the adjustment, then you will find that more and more you will become a teaching rock star in your classroom. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, 5 effective strategies for lesson planning. Now remember, lesson planning doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be difficult. It just requires of us to do a little creativity, a little fun, and of course, we'll be able to create lessons that our students love and will enjoy and will make them want to come to our classes. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video. Hey, and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel.